the name of this question is Pursuit Company. It's a very good question on this mergers and acquisition. So with respect to the Pursuit Company, before I go on reading the question, I'll go through the requirements of the question. It says prepare a report to the board of directors of Pursuit Company that. What do you need to do? You need to prepare a report for the board of directors of the Pursuit Company that evaluates whether the acquisition of fodder company would be beneficial to Pursuit Company and its shareholders. So what do you need to do? You need to evaluate whether the acquisition of fodder company would be beneficial for the Pursuit Company and its shareholders. The free cash flow to firm method should be used to estimate values of fodder company and the combined company. Assuming that combined company's capital structure stays the same as that of Pursuit Company's current capital structure, include all relevant calculations. Then it says discuss the limitations of the estimated valuations in part 1 above. So for the time being, what I'm going to do is I'll be focusing upon these two requirements, which is I have to evaluate whether the acquisition of fodder would be beneficial for Pursuit Company or not. So this is what I'll be talking about. Now, let's try to understand. It says evaluate whether the acquisition of fodder would be beneficial to Pursuit Company and its shareholders. The free cash flow to firm method should be used to estimate the values of fodder company and the combined company. So now if I tell you that how exactly are we going to see whether this is beneficial for them or not. So there has to be a way of doing it. What is going to be the way of doing it? It has to be like this. For example, if I say this is Pursuit Company, I'm just giving a hypothetical example that let's say the value of Pursuit Company is 100 million. The value of the fodder company is let's say 40 million. So the value of these two companies is 140 million. If I say the value of the combined company incorporating all the synergy is 185 million and the amount paid for fodder company is let's say 60 million. So you would say that 185 less 60 gives you 125 million. So if we think from the perspective of this combined company, the combined company is worth more. So there is obviously an addition. And with respect to this additional, because what happens is this is attributable to Pursuit Company. So you would say that the Pursuit Company was originally worth what? 100 million. So resultingly, there is going to be this $25 million, which is going to be what? There's going to be this $25 million, which is going to be the premium, which is going to be the advantage. So this is just the hypothetical numbers that I've used. The example here requirement is evaluate whether the acquisition of fodder company would be beneficial to Pursuit Company and its shareholders. The free cash flow to firm method should be used to estimate the values of fodder company and combined company. Now, let's just start discussing about it. So what do we have? We have got this information. It says Pursuit Company, a listed company, which manufactures electronic equipment components, is interested in acquiring fodder company, an unlisted company involved in development of sophisticated but high risk electronic products. So who you are a Pursuit Company. You manufacture electronic components. And what are you trying to do? You're trying to acquire a company which is named Fodder Company. You're trying to acquire a company which is actually going to be termed as Fodder Company. And what is happening is that it's an unlisted company which is involved in the development of sophisticated but high risk electronic products. The owners of Fodder Company are a consortium of private equity investors who have been looking for a suitable buyer for their company for some time. So what is actually happening is that the owners are looking for this suitable buyer for their company for some time. It says Pursuit Company estimates that a payment of the equity value plus 25% premium would be sufficient to secure the purchase of Fodder Company. So what is the viewpoint of the Pursuit Company's shareholders? The Pursuit Company's shareholders, they think that we would estimate the value of the Fodder Company and whatever the value of the equity of the Fodder Company. What we would do is that we would actually apply a 25% premium to it. We would apply a 25% premium to it. would be sufficient to secure the purchase of fodder company. It says pursued company would also pay off any outstanding debt that fodder company owed. So pursued company, what it would do is that it would also pay off any outstanding debt that fodder company would have owed. So whatever the debts of the fodder company, they would also be settled by pursued. Pursued company wishes to acquire fodder company using combination of debt and its cash reserves of 20 million, such that the capital structure of the combined company remains at Pursued's current capital structure level. So what they actually want to do is that they want to borrow the funds, and they want to borrow the funds in such a way that the cash payment, they want to borrow the funds in such a manner that the capital structure stays constant. Now, we have been given information on Pursued company and fodder company. It says Pursued has a debt to equity ratio of 50-50 and an equity beta of 1.18. Currently, Pursued has a total firm value of 140 million. So if I talk about this Pursued company, this is the key information that is given, that it has a debt to equity ratio of this much, the equity beta is this much, and currently they have got this firm value. The second is fodder company's income statement extracts. I repeat, the second is fodder company's income statement extracts. At 31st May 11, 31st May 10, 31st May 9, 31st May 8. So what have we been given? We've been given the information pertaining to fodder company, that the sales, operating profit after operating cost and tax allowable depreciation. So it's simply PBIT. The net interest costs, the profit before tax, taxation after tax, dividend, retained earnings. It says fodder company has a market debt to equity ratio of 10:90. So what happens is, when we talk about this fodder company, their debt to equity ratio is 10:90. Their debt to equity ratio is 10:90. An estimated equity beta is 1.53 and the equity beta is 1.53. It says it can be assumed that its tax allowable depreciation is equivalent to the amount of investment needed to maintain current operations level. Now, what exactly does this line mean? This line would mean when you would be calculating the free cash flows to firm or whatsoever that is. So if you are going to add back depreciation, so the investment in non-current asset needs to be deducted. And this depreciation, let's say if it is 1,000, so this investment is also going to be 1,000, and end of the day it is going to be zero. And end of the day it is actually going to be zero. So depreciation of 1,000 less whatever the investment, that is all going to be the same. Now, what next is there? The next situation is, however, fodder company will require additional investments in 22 cents per $1 increase in the sales revenue. The fodder company will require an additional investment in assets of 22 cents per dollar increase in sales revenue for the next 4 years. For the next 4 years. So what actually happens is, they need to invest this assets 22 cents per $1 increase. So the additional investment is going to be 22 cents per dollar. What is it going to be? 22 cents per dollar. Now what next is there? It says that for the next 4 years, it is anticipated that fodder company will pay interest at 9% of its future borrowings. So the interest rate is going to be 9%. For the next 4 years, fodder sales revenue will grow at the same average rate as the previous years. So it will grow at the same average rate as the previous year. What is that average growth rate? After the forecasted period of 4 years, the growth rate of its free cash flows will be half the initial forecast sale revenue growth rate for the foreseeable future. So this is the detail with respect to the fodder company's free cash flow that is given. We are being given information about the combined company, which we need to ignore right now. There's this other information that is available. It says the current annual government rate is 4.5%. This is risk-free rate of return. And the market risk premium is estimated to be 6% per annum. The market risk premium means RM minus RF. The relevant annual tax rate applicable to the companies is 28%. There are other details with respect to SGF, so I'm not talking about it right now. First of all, if I tell you people that I need to calculate the free cash flows to firm of Fodder company. So I do know year 1 till year 4. Will be the average growth rate. Year 5 till infinity, 50% of average growth rate. So whatever the average growth rate was, 50% of that is going to be covered up. Now what next is there? The next situation is basically like this. That you've got this much, which is going to be like what? Which is going to be we need to establish the average growth rate. How would we do it? It says the average growth rate as of the previous year. The sales revenue will grow at the same average rate as the previous year. So we need to establish the sales revenue growth rate. How would we do it? You can apply the geometric mean method. 13,559 1 plus g power 3. Why? Because it has been grown this much. 1, 2, 3. So power 3 is equivalent to what? Is equivalent to 16,146. If we talk about it, 1 plus g power 3 is going to be 16,146 divided by 13559. The growth rate is going to be what? It's going to be 16,146 divided by 13559, and this is going to be cube root minus 1. And hence resultingly this is what you're gonna get. Resultingly this is what you're gonna get. We didn't use May. What May are you talking about? Which May are you talking about? I've used this whole year's sales for 8, 9, 10, 11, and this is what I have established, that this is how the growth rate is going to be. Okay, so the growth rate is going to be what? The growth rate is going to be 6%. The growth rate is going to be 6%. Now, so that means we are expecting this to grow by 6%. The sales revenue is expected to grow by 6%. What have I done? I've simply used the historical cash flows. I've simply used the historical cash flows and I've established the growth rate on the basis of historical cash flows. Now, so basically it was 16,146 latest year and 13559. Now, what could possibly happen is that, I repeat, what could possibly happen is that I can assume that the average operating profit margin will prevail. I can assume that the average operating profit margin will prevail. Now, what exactly do you mean by this? This would actually mean that what is the operating profit margin? So you can either do the adding up of all of this, and this. So if we try to add up all of them, okay, it's actually gonna be what? So profit before interest and tax is 19016. The sales which are for the last 4 years is going to be so this is going to be 32%. So what we are going to assume is that the operating profit margin will prevail or it will remain constant for the subsequent periods also. It is going to remain constant for the subsequent periods also. So now what you could probably do is that you could estimate the free cash flows to firm on this basis. A lot of the students were asking for this use of the spreadsheet. So I decided that I'll go for the spreadsheet from today to the maximum possible extent that I can use. So basically this question, what do we have? I'm going to take out a slide screenshot from my own reference. I'll take out the slide screenshot from my own reference so that I don't have to regularly go on and refer to it again and again. So it's actually going to be what? Uh, okay, so you've got sales. The sales are 16,146 multiplied by. The sales are expected to grow by what? 6%. So this is going to be the growth rate of 6% that would prevail. Then the PBIT at the rate of 32%, because this is what we are estimating the PBIT to be. I hope that I'm not too fast and you people are able to understand that what am I doing. Yes, sure, go ahead please. Okay, because you see what happens is we are right now standing at this sales. We are right now standing at this sales and this is growing by 6% every year. This is growing by 6% every year. Who told me this thing? So this is what is mentioned in the question. That the Fodder company sales revenue will grow at the same average rate as in the previous year. So this is current year, we are applying for the next year. So once you have got the operating profit, you would apply tax directly onto it at the rate of 28% to end up getting PBIT 1 minus T. Okay, so you have PBIT 1 minus T because you have applied the taxation also to it. We just need to see how much is the investment that we need to make. So there is actually going to be an investment of 22 cents per $100. So the investment, because what happens is the depreciation plus investment to maintain operations, investment for growth. Whatever this amount is going to be, this amount is going to be the same. So I'm not recognizing anything, I'm just letting it be nil. I'm not recognizing anything, I'm just letting it be nil. So the investment for growth, we are being told that 22 cents for every dollar increase in the sales. So what I am going to do, I'm going to say this is going to be 22 cents means $0.22, $0.22, $0.22. You have to multiply it with what? Current year sales minus previous year sales. Now, why is that so? The every $1 increase in sales, you need to have 22 cents investment. So let me check what was the sale last year. It was 16146. So you would say the current year minus 16146. Now here it is going to be 0.22 multiplied by this sale less this sale. So this is actually going to give you a growth. This sale less this sale going to give you growth. You'll copy this formula here. Yes, 4-year figures are covered up because the growth rate for the 4th year is given. So what happens is we would say that we have got the free cash flows to firm. The discount factor has to be your WACC. So this is then going to be considered as present value. If we have to establish the value of fodder company, so we need to have the WACC of fodder company. Are we being provided with a WACC of fodder company? No. So that means you would have to calculate it. So how would you calculate it? Let's try to have a discussion on this. So when we talk about this fodder company, yeah, that is the debt to equity ratio that is given, Lola. Okay, we're going to talk about this cost of equity first. What is this cost of equity going to be? The cost of equity of this fodder company is going to be the risk-free rate of return plus the equity beta. What is this equity beta? It's 1.53 multiply by 6%. So resultingly, what is going to happen is it's going to be 13.68%. I repeat, it's going to be 13.68%. If I talk about the cost of debt, we are being told it's 9%. So if we try to calculate the WACC, 13.68 multiply by the debt is what? 10%, right? Plus 9%. This is KD 1 minus T. 1 minus 0.28 multiply by 0.1 because it's going to be 10% here. It's going to be 10% here. So resultingly what happens is it's going to be 12.312 plus. So 12.96% or 13% is what the WACC is going to be. 12.96% or 13% is what the WACC is going to be. So what are you going to do with respect to this WACC? You're going to use this specific WACC for, I repeat, what are you going to do? You're going to use this specific WACC for what? For the discounting of the cash flows. For the discounting of the cash flows. I'm rounding off to 13%. I'm rounding it off to 13%. So this is going to be the present value of cash flows from time period 1 till time period 4. Now what happens next is that the cash flows time period 1 till time period 4, we have them to be 3301 plus 3096 plus 2095 plus this 2725, and 5 till infinity, it has to be 2725 multiply 1.03. Why? Because the discount rate would become half. Divide by 13% minus 3%. So resultingly what happens is, this is what it is going to be. So hence resultingly 28,068. So this is basically 2725. Okay, you don't use 2725, use 4443 multiply by 1.03. Why? Because the growth rate is expected to become half, divided by KE minus G. So once you have this, you'd multiply it with 4-year PV factor. So resultingly what happens is, so this is what it is going to be, and hence what happens is 40,094 is going to be the value of firm. 40,094 is going to be the value of firm. Yes, you want to, that's why I use where is percentage taken from, right? Okay, 3% is the growth. Yeah, because what happens is, this 3% growth is mentioned here in the question. Here it says that after a period of 3 years, the growth rate would become half. So if it would become half, it was originally 6%. Now it would become 3%. It was originally 6%. Now it would become 3%. Okay, so what have we done? We have established the value of this fodder company, that the value of fodder company is what? Is 40,094. Now if I have to calculate the value of equity, it will be 10%. Sorry, it will be 90%. Because the gearing is, debt is 10%, equity is 90%. Okay, so what have we got? We have got this to be 36,085. What is it? It's the value of equity. It's the value of equity. Now, what do we need to do? We need to do the workings for the combined company. I repeat, what do we need to do? We need to do the workings for the combined company. What is the information available for the combined company? That is something that we are going to check. It says information about the combined company is like this. Following the acquisition, it is expected that combined company sales revenue will be this much in the first year, and its profit margin on sales will be 30% for the foreseeable future. So this is what the sales are going to be, and the profit margin is going to be this much. It says after the first year, the growth rate in sales revenue will be 5.8% per year after the first year for the following 3 years. Following the acquisition, it's expected the combined company will pay annual interest of this much. Combined company will require additional investment of this much in the first year, and then 18 cents per dollar one increase in sales revenue for next 3 years. It's anticipated after the 4-year forecasted growth, 4-year period, its free cash flow growth rate will be half the sales revenue growth rate. It can be assumed that the asset beta of the combined company is the weighted average of the individual company's asset beta weighed in proportion to individual company's market value. So that means in order to calculate the WACC, we would have to have the revised beta also. I repeat, in order to calculate the WACC, we would have to have the revised beta also. So I would want you people to calculate the weighted average asset beta. Calculate the weighted average asset beta. Yeah, try to do it, please. Okay, wait. Are you people done with the weighted average asset beta calculation? Let's try to calculate and let's try to see what is it actually going to be. So what happens is we need to know the asset beta of both the company. So if we need to know the asset beta of both the companies, so you do know that the formula for the asset beta is, it is equity beta multiplied by market value of equity divided by market value of equity plus market value of debt 1 minus T. So first of all, if I talk about the Fodder company asset beta, it's going to be the equity beta of the Fodder is available to us and it's 1.53 multiplied by 0.9 is what the equity is, zero point 0.9 plus zero point 0.1 into 1 minus 0.28. So resultingly what happens is if we try to establish the asset beta of Fodder company, how much is it actually going to be? This is actually going to be 1.416, 1.4167. This is what the asset beta of Fodder company is going to be. Similarly, if I try to establish the asset beta of Pursuit company, so how would I do it? I would do it this way. I've got equity beta of Pursuit as 1.18. I would say 1.18 multiplied by the debt to equity ratio is 50-50. So it has to be zero point 0.5 plus 0.5, 1 minus 0.28. So hence resultingly what happens is, if we try to establish this, this is going to be zero point 0.5 into 0.72 plus zero point 0.5. So resultingly 0.686 is what the asset beta of Pursuit company is. So what have we done? We have calculated the asset beta of Pursuit company and we have got the asset beta of Fodder company. So this is what we have actually got. This is what we have actually got, which is the asset beta of Fodder company, asset beta of Pursuit company. Now what do we need to do? We now need to calculate the weighted average asset beta. So how do you calculate the weighted average asset beta? The examiner is telling you that you need to weigh the beta on the basis of the relative market values. So what do we need to use? We need to use the relative market values, individual companies market value. We have the market value of Pursuit as 140 million and we have the market value of Fodder as 40 million. So if we try to establish the weighted average asset beta, it's going to be 1.4167. 1.4167 multiplied by 140 upon 180 plus 0.686 multiplied by, um, sorry, it has to be 40 only. And this is going to be multiplied by 140 upon 180. So resultingly, you will end up getting what? So hence it is going to be 0.848, 0.848. Now if it is going to be 0.848, what is actually going to happen? We now need to use this asset beta and we now need to re-gear this beta. At Pursuit's gearing, because this is what the expected gearing is going to be. Because this is what the expected gearing is going to be. So what are we going to do? We're going to say the equity beta is equivalent to asset beta into E plus D 1 minus T divided by E. So hence resultingly what happens is the asset beta is going to be 0.848 multiplied by. You've got zero point 0.5 plus zero point 0.5 into 1 minus 0.28 divided by 0.5. Hence resultingly what is it going to be? 1.4586. 1.4586. 1.4586. So resultingly, what is it going to be? 1.4586. Okay, so you've got this is the revised equity beta. What is it? It's actually a revised equity beta. Now, what else is there? So we have got the revised equity beta. This is what we have got. So now once you have to calculate the cost of equity, the revised cost of equity, it's going to be what? It's going to be the risk-free rate of return, which is 4.5%. 4.5% plus 1.4586 multiply by the risk premium, which is 6%. So resultingly, what is going to happen is it's going to be 13.25%. What is it going to be? 13.25%. So the cost of equity is going to be 13.25%. If I have to calculate the weighted average cost of capital of the combined company, I do know that with respect to the combined company, we are expected to pay 6.4% interest. So resultingly, this is going to be the WACC. Resultingly, we'll end up getting a WACC. How much is that going to be? Okay, 8.93%, which is approximately 9%, which is approximately going to be what? 9%. So now, what do we need to do now is that we need to have the value of this combined company. How would you be calculating the value of the combined company? I'm copying the same cash flow here. And I know that this is the cash flow. I need to do the math for the combined company. We are being told that the combined company will have what? 51,952. and this is expected to grow by 5.8%. So it's 51,952 expected to grow by 5.8%. The profit before, sorry, the operating profit margin is expected to be what? 30%. The tax on this is going to be applied. And then what happens is, this is what it is going to be. The investment for the growth is going to be 513 in the first year. And then it is expected to be 18 cents for every $1 increase in sales. Kindly look at it. In case if anyone is having any issues with this, kindly do let me know so that I can help you understand. 51,952, then 5.8% growth is applicable. This is 30%. This is 28% of this. The investment is 513. Then whatever the increase is, there is a difference of 18 cents. Okay, whatever the investment in the first year is expected to be 513, it's mentioned. And then subsequently it has to be 18 cents per $1 increase in sales. 18 cents per $1 increase in sales. So you end up getting free cash flows to firm. The WACC has to be 9%. So the cash flows time period 1 till time period 4 is going to be 37,602. Here 5 till infinity. Here 5 till infinity, it's going to be what? It's going to be like this. The growth rate is expected to become half, which is going to be 0.29%, 2.9%. So resultingly, what would happen is, so hence this is going to be the value of the combined firm. This is going to be the value of the combined firm. For year 1, I did not use U1A. I did not use any figure for the past year. Just go through this part of the question very carefully, this part. Are you okay now? Yeah, sure. Look at it. Okay. Now, so this is what we have got. We have got the value of this company, the name which is actually the combined company. Now, the requirement of the question is that it says um, we have estimated the value of fodder. We have estimated the value of combined company. Um, and we have to evaluate whether acquisition would be beneficial to Pursuit and its shareholders. Think about the benefit to Pursuit company. So individually, Pursuit company was worth 140 million. Okay, so the Pursuit company is worth 140 million. Fodder company is worth approximately 40 million. There's going to be 180 million. The two combined are going to be worth 180 million. Less paid for acquisition of in fact, what we could do is that we could say the value of combined company. It is 130 million. So the value of Pursuit was 140. The value of Fodder was 40. The value of the combined company has become 130 million. Okay, wait a bit. So now, Pursuit company was worth 140 million. The Fodder company was worth 40 million. And this combined company is worth 130 million. Now, apparently on this basis, it seems to be a loss-making deal. So we just need to go back and we just need to see if we are doing the calculations correctly or not. We just need to go back and see if we are doing the calculations correctly or not. So okay, it's actually going to be 189 million, which is going to be the value of combined company. Yes, thank you, Lola. The value of the combined company has to be what? 189 million. I repeat, the value of the combined company has to be what? 189 million. So it's actually going to be 189 million. So 189.16 million is what it is going to be. Now, we need to see that the value of combined company is this, less value of pursuit, which was 140 million, value of fodder that we paid. So what are we going to pay? 40 million is the value of fodder. 90% of it is equity, and you're going to be paying a 25% premium. 40 million is the value of fodder, 90% is the equity, and you'll be paying 25% premium. So resultingly 45 million is what it is going to be. Now, there are two things that we need to calculate. One of them is the benefit to pursuit company. The benefit to pursuit company is going to be like this minus this. 9.16 million is going to be the benefit to pursuit company. I repeat, what is it going to be? 9.16 million is going to be the benefit to pursuit company. Now what do we need to do is that we need to calculate the benefit for the shareholders. How would you establish the benefit for shareholders? You would say the total value of the combined company, which is 189.16, less value of existing individual businesses, which is going to be 180 million, less premium paid. How much is the premium that you will be paying out? You're paying out 40 million into 90% into 25%. Hence, the net benefit to shareholders is going to be this. So there are two things that you need to understand. One of them is the benefit to pursuit, the benefit to shareholders. What is the benefit to pursuit? The benefit to pursuit is the extra that you generate. The extra that you generate. It was supposed to be 180 and then 189. So 9.16 million is the benefit to pursuit. And what happens is when it comes to benefit for shareholders, you have paid what? You have paid an extra amount, an extra premium to what it was worth. You have made a payment of extra premium than what it was worth. Is it okay now? So one of them is a benefit to Pursuit and the other one of them is a benefit to its shareholders. Okay, so now let's move a bit forward and discuss further. The next thing that we need to understand is that it says discusses the limitations of the estimated valuations in part 1 above. Discusses the limitations of the valuation in part 1 above. So when we talk about the discussion of the limitation in part 1 above, so what is it going to be? You would have to talk about the overall limitations of this method. Now always remember that limitations is not a rocket science. Limitations is not a rocket science. If you have to establish the limitations, I'm going to guide you a very simple way of establishing the limitation. And what is that simple way of establishing the limitations going to be? That you just think of the assumptions that you use in your question and think how unrealistic they are. So the number one of them is the growth rate of sales may not prevail. The operating profit margin may not remain constant. The growth rate of sales may not prevail. The operating profit margin may not remain constant. The beta, the gearing of the entity will not remain same. The estimate of risk-free rate of return is not appropriate. The weighted average beta does not incorporate appropriate averages. So what happens is this is what you are going to do. You're going to incorporate the limitations like this. Yeah, is this okay now? So the limitations is not the rocket science, it's just the application of the things that you normally come across. I repeat, limitations is not the rocket science. It's almost similar to what assumptions that you take, that you actually challenge the whether those assumptions are going to prevail or not. Okay, let's move a bit forward. Okay, the weighted average asset beta is calculated on the basis that it's the weighted average of the values of the companies. So it may not be the case. It may not actually be the case. Now, what next is there? The next requirement of this question is estimate the amount of debt finance needed in addition to the cash reserves to acquire further company, and conclude whether pursued company's current capital structure can be maintained or not. So if I talk about that how much amount of debt finance would be needed, so I need to go back to the question, because there was something important mentioned in the first paragraph of the question. And what was that? It says that you'll buy it with a combination of debt and equity, and the amount that you would pay, it would be 20 million out of the cash, and the balance has to be borrowed. Now, how exactly are we going to do the calculations? So for this, you need to understand there is a concept which is called spare debt capacity. I repeat, there is a concept which is called spare debt capacity. What exactly do you mean by spare debt capacity? There is something that you need to understand. What is the concept of spare debt capacity? The first thing that you would do is that you would say that what is the value of the combined company? The value of the combined company we just calculated 189, 169, something like that, right? 189, 162. So the value of the combined company is 189, 162. And if we say that debt to equity is 50%, so what do you mean by this? That 94,581 is going to be the debt. Now, what is it? It's actually like this, that if you maintain your debt to equity ratio to 50%, this is the debt that is going to be existing. Now, which is going to be that the extra debt capacity already available post acquisition is going to be what? 94,581 minus 70,000, because originally it was 140 million. So hence resultingly what happens is it's gonna become 24,581. What is it gonna become? 24,581. I repeat, it is gonna become 24,581. Now that means the total amount required to be paid is the value, which is 40 million, add premium, add the premium. The premium is going to be what? 40 million into 90% into 25%. So it's actually gonna be 9 million. So it's a 49 million has to be paid, less cash reserves of 20 million, less spare debt capacity of 24.581 million, and hence this is going to be the balance to be borrowed. 4.419 million is the amount that needs to be borrowed. So the question's requirement was that you need to estimate the amount that is required to be borrowed. So how did I establish it? I said that, okay, wait, the combined company is worth this. The debt to equity ratio is going to be worth this. The extra debt capacity is going to be like this. 24,581 is going to be there. The total amount required to be paid is going to be this. So this is how it is all going to be. 4.419. BBLE, it's 4.419. Okay, how did I get 2481? 24581. This is how it is. Basically the value of this combined company is this much. If the debt to equity ratio is 50%, that means debt is this much. The original debt of fodder this pursuit was 70,000. So that means there is extra debt of 24,581 that will be available. So the total amount that was needed is 40 plus 949 million is paid. Of it, 20 million is paid from cash. 24.581 is made from the extra debt available. So the balance amount needs to be borrowed. The balance amount needs to be borrowed. Now, let's move a bit forward and discuss further. The next requirement of this question is, it says, evaluate the implications of a change in capital structure of combined company to the valuation method used in part 1 and how the issue can be resolved. So it says that what are going to be the implications? What are going to be the implications of the change in the capital structure? So always remember that if the capital structure changes, then this would mean that the market value of this means the KE would change. This change in capital structure would have an impact on the market value of equity and market value of debt. The whole WACC is going to change. The whole WACC is going to change. So in order to overcome this approach is to use the adjusted present value. In order to overcome this approach, it's suggested to use adjusted present value. In order to overcome this approach, it is suggested to use the adjusted present value. Okay, now what next is there? It says assess whether the CFO's recommendation would provide a defense against the suitable bid of SGF. Now, what is this last thing, which is SGF company's interest in Pursuit company? It says there have been rumors of a potential bid by SGF company to acquire Pursuit company. Some financial press reports have suggested this is because Pursuit share price has fallen recently. Okay, so the Pursuit company is undervalued right now. SGF is in a similar line of business as Pursuit, and until a couple of years ago, SGF was a smaller company. However, successful performance has resulted in its share price rising, and SGF is now the larger company. Rumors of SGF interest have raised doubts about Pursuit company's ability to acquire fodder, although SGF has not made any formal bid yet. Pursuit's board is keen to reduce possibility of such a bid. The CFO has suggested most effective way to reduce possibility would be to distribute $20 million in its cash reserves to its shareholder in the form of a special dividend. Fodder would then be purchased using debt finance. He conceded that this would increase the gearing level, but suggested it might increase the company's share price and make Pursuit less appealing to SGF company. Now, always remember a few things, which is basically that there is a concept called hostile takeover. What is this hostile takeover? When the entity is taken over without its consent. So the hostile takeover concept actually means that the entity is taken over without its consent. Now, what exactly do you mean by this? That the entity is taken over without this consent. When does it happen? So it could happen through a stock market purchase of the shares. I repeat, it could happen through the stock market purchase of the shares. Now, what happens is, uh, one of the things that happens is that whenever you want to buy a company, you would ideally acquire an undervalued company because there is a low risk of loss of synergy. Whenever you wish to buy, you wish buy a low undervalued company because there is a low risk of loss of synergy. Furthermore, you would prefer to go for a cash rich company. You would prefer to go for a cash rich company. So you would prefer to go for a cash rich company. You would buy a company where there is a low risk of losing out synergy, so ideally undervalued company. Now, the payment of dividend to reduce cash can be a good option, but then pursuit is losing opportunity of acquiring fodder through its own cash. Acquiring fodder through its own cash. Furthermore, the gearing will have an impact on the WACC, and hence the value of fodder may not be, I mean, the value of combined company becomes low, leading to lack of attraction. Leading to lack of attraction. Is this okay now? Okay, good enough. So we are done with this question, the name of which was Pursuit Company. And in this specific question, what we have done is we've actually gone through a business valuation. We have gone through the concept of this the business valuation plus the multiple things with respect to the acquisition of a business that need to be considered and that need to be kept in mind. So I hope that you people do have a good understanding of this question now.